What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to be getting into my NBA playoff predictions plus the play-in tournament, obviously, because that's just basically a part of the NBA playoffs. So, super hyped for the playoffs. I know you guys all are as well. But anyway, guys, without further ado, let's get into this here. Starting out with the play-in games, I want to see, for whatever reason, ESPN's being stupid. Let's take a look at the NBA schedule, see who's playing first. I assume it's the 7. Yeah, it's going to be the 7 versus 8 games first. So the first game is, it's actually the West playing on Tuesday, and then the East playing on Wednesday. So the first game is let's go up to the West here. The Lakers versus the Pelicans. Just a little rundown of these two seasons. Pelicans wound up finishing it's 49-33, while the Lakers finished 47-35. The Western Conference was a bloodbath this year, and these two very solid teams get to play each other in the first round. Obviously, Zion Williamson, the key part of that Pelicans team. They got a lot of good players as well, CJ McCollum being one of them. Valanciunas, Brandon Ingram. All of these kind of players are very good, very high scoring, very cohesive unit for New Orleans on the offensive side of the ball. For the Los Angeles Lakers, you can never count out them. They were a 7 seed last year and went to the Western Conference Finals, if I do believe so. Obviously, LeBron James, the potential, for sure, a top 3 player of all time. I don't think he's quite up there with MJ, but that's neither here nor there. He's a great player and have accomplished a lot. You obviously have Anthony Davis, who's a great player as well. D'Angelo Russell, it's a decent unit outside of that, but I don't think as good of a unit as the Pelicans are. You take a look at these two. They play on Tuesday. I'm interested to see what happens. The game is being played in Los Angeles. The winner does go on to play the Nuggets, the defending champions. I think I'm going to have to go with the New Orleans Pelicans here. I'm actually going to flip this up. I'm going to go with the Lakers. I know it's on the road for the Los Angeles Lakers. I understand that, but it's LeBron James, man. I think that with the more experienced team, Zion Williamson, the Pelicans team, I think is better, but I don't think it'll be enough for them to get it done. So give me the Lakers. So that does mean the Pelicans fall here. Oh, wait, wrong one. Right here. Down, and they will play the winner of either the Kings or the Warriors. So Kings-Warriors, the next matchup. Weird to see the Warriors down here in the play-in berth. Obviously, we know the Warriors, dominant team over the years. Not quite this year, but they are still a very good team with that roster. Steph Curry, all those guys, we know the Warriors here. Steph Curry having another great year. Outside of him, though, I don't think it's the best team. They got Chris Paul here, Klay Thompson, Wiggins, Draymond Green's been out all year. But I've not been too impressed with the way the Warriors have played this season. You take a look at the Kings. This is a rematch of last year's first round game where I believe the Warriors won. Kings, I took a step back this year, but that's just based on seeding. This has been a very tough Western Conference. They take a drop, but still a very good team. I think De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, Malik Monk. It's still a good team for the Kings. These two finished with the same record at 46-36. I'm actually going to go with the home team, though. I'm going to go with the Sacramento Kings. We saw this last year in the playoffs. These Kings fans show out for these playoff games. I think the Kings will learn from last year, not lose to the Warriors again, although I can very much see it happening. I'm not going to predict it. I like the Kings a little bit more than I do the Warriors. Younger team, and I think they're on the rise. So even with the lower seed, I really like the Sacramento Kings as a team. So give me the Kings. All right, then we get to the Wednesday games, which does start out with the Sixers versus the Heat for the rights of the 7th seed. Now, obviously, this is a weird matchup in the first round. These two teams had high expectations coming, or sorry, not in the first round, but the play-in. These two teams had high expectations coming into the season and have kind of disappointed. Sixers finished 47-35. Heat finished 46-36. So you expected these teams to be better, as I mentioned. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Embiid was injured for a lot of the year for the Sixers. They were one of the top teams in the East, but kind of fell off due to that and dropped to this play-in berth. They still got Maxey, who's been a great player this year. Embiid's averaged 34 points per game. So obviously Embiid's the back of this team. They got some decent players. Oubre Jr., Buddy Hield, who I want to say is injured right now. I'm not entirely sure on that, but yeah, I mean, still some great players on that team. Then you got the Miami Heat, who obviously made the finals last year as an 8 seed. That could happen again for sure. Heat, you obviously got Jimmy Butler right there with the dominant Jimmy. You got Tyler Hero, who's a great player. Bam Adebayo, very good team. We all know who it is. It's the Miami Heat. Not really a regular season team, but have always been showing out in the playoffs. So it's an interesting game. Again, like the Pelicans-Lakers game, it's being played, the 7th seed has advantage because it's at home court advantage for the Sixers, which is interesting. I'm going to have to go with the Sixers here. I think that Joel Embiid is a better player. I mean, it's tough to pick against Miami in the postseason, but on the road, I think the Sixers can get it done. I expect that one to be a very good battle, though. So give me the Sixers to win it. Then we got the Bulls versus the Hawks. Both these teams finished below 500. 39-43 for the Bulls, 36-46 for the Hawks. Two not so exciting teams. I mean, they have good players on their roster. Bulls obviously with DeMar DeRozan, Levine, White, Vucevic. It's a good unit, but they always seem to disappoint in the season. Hawks, you got Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. Other than that, they got some good players, Bogdanovich, Hooter, Capella, but not the best team. I mean, it's just two teams that I think aren't the best coach. I mean, Quinn Snyder's a decent coach, but I think he's still adjusting to this team. I am going to give this one to the Hawks, even though they're on the road. They always seem to show out, though, in the playoffs or the play-in. I think Trae Young will be better than any of the Bulls players here. I just don't have faith in the Bulls, honestly. They continue to disappoint year in and year out. All right, let's finish off here the play-in. We got the Pelicans taking on the Kings. Let's go with here. We're not going to give a rundown like last time since we already got these teams, but Pelicans, Zion Williamson, dominant player. Kings, I like this team a lot, man. It's a great roster with De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. But at home, the Pelicans, I don't think, lose 2 straight. I think they're going to get this 8 seed here. I like the Pelicans slightly more at home than I do the Kings. But like I said, this Western Conference is up for anybody. I could see all of these teams, winning and making the playoffs here. But I am going to go with the Pelicans as the 7 at home. Finishing it off, Heat, Hawks. I believe these two met last year as the 7 versus 8 matchup. So that's interesting. I like Trae Young. I like Atlanta. But it's freaking Jimmy Butler and the Heat. I mean, can you really count out that team, especially with them being played at home in this one? I think the Heat will make the playoffs no matter what here. if they're an 8 seed or a 7, which will set up a great matchup with the Celtics. But I'm going to go with the Heat. So 10 minutes into the video, we're finally done with the play-in tournament. Let's get to the juiciness, the actual NBA playoffs. So yeah, right here we got the Pelicans, the Lakers, the Sixers, and the Heat. So let's just start out here at the top left. The Oklahoma City Thunder have taken a huge step this season, get to play the New Orleans Pelicans in the first round here. It's an interesting game between these two, or a series, I should say. You know, Thunder have been a great team this year, but don't count out Zion Williamson and New Orleans. Thunder taking big steps with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's been a MVP-type candidate. Chet Holmgren in his first year, getting those blocks. Jaden Williams out of Santa Clara. Very young team, but have been playing great basketball. I'm going to give this one to the Thunder, though. I mean, it's the number 1 seed. Zion Williamson and the Pelicans, I think, could maybe do some damage here. I wish it let me pick the how many games. I'll just say it, though. I think this one's going to be a 6-game series. I think the Pelicans do give the Thunder a little bit of trouble here for a 1 seed. Remember, this Thunder team's still very young, so I think they could be prone to an upset early, but I'm going to trust Shai in the playoffs, and I'm going to give him his flowers with a victory. Next matchup, we got a great matchup between the LA Clippers taking on the Mavericks. LA finishes 51-31. Mavericks finish 50-32. These two teams have high expectations, obviously with the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, the big three. Russell Westbrook coming off the bench, I believe. And yeah, just a solid team. Powell, Zubac. It's a good roster there for the Clippers for sure. But then you get to the Mavericks here, and I mean, you can't really say that that's not really a good roster either, with arguably the best player in the NBA, Luka Doncic, who leads this team in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. That's crazy. But obviously Kyrie Irving as well, a great player there. Hardaway Jr., a lot of injuries here though for the Pelicans the Mavericks heading into this playoffs. The Clippers have been on a little losing streak, but this is an interesting series here. I'm going to go with Dallas, though, for a 5 over a 4. Give me Luka Doncic and the Mavericks to win this series in 7, I'm going to say. I'm going to say this is a Game 7 type series between these two. I think these two teams are neck and neck. Both of these teams are experienced in the playoffs. They know how to win. But I do think Luka Doncic is the best player out of all of these teams. I think that will come into play. Mavericks get it done in a 7-game series. Also, another fun matchup. We got Minnesota Timberwolves, the 3 seed, finishing 56-26, taking on the 49-33 6-seeded Suns. I'm excited for this one. I think this is an underrated series here. We got Minnesota, Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, Naz Reid. You know, this roster who's usually disappoints in the regular season and finishes as like a 7 seed, takes huge steps. They were in contention for the number 1 seed in the West. But they got a tough matchup with a not typical 6 seed, that's for certain, with the Phoenix Suns and Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, that big 3 they got there. Also, shout out to my man Bol on that team there. Yeah, I mean, it's tough if you had to play KD in the first round and Devin Booker, who both average 27 points per game. Timberwolves, though, they've had a great year. This has been their year to take a step. Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert always come up short. in the regular season. Can this be their year? Also, the addition of Mike Conley's been a great piece for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm going to go with Minnesota in this one. The Suns just haven't been as good of a team. I think Minnesota's stuck out the year better. They have home court advantage. I like the Wolves here, and I think this is a game. I'm going to go with a 6-game series. I think the Suns could make this a 7-game series, and you never know in a 7-game series with KD. But I'm going to give this one to the Wolves, who I think have been just the better team overall this year, offensive or defensively, especially for that roster. Okay, finishing this up, 2-seeded Lakers taking on the 7-seeded, the 2-seeded Nuggets taking on the 7-seed Lakers. We got LeBron James and the Lakers rematch against Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets almost get that 1 seed, unfortunately come up short, finishing 57-25. Tied up with the Thunder. I mean, Nuggets obviously looking to go back-to-back, but gotta go through LeBron James and the LA Lakers, we all know what they're capable of, but I don't think they get this done here. I was thinking of maybe going with the upset. Lakers did it last year. Not this year, though. I mean, the Nuggets are just too good with Jokic and Jamal Murray and that cast of players. They obviously won it last year. I think they can get it done. So I think this one's going to be I'm going to go with another 6-game series. I know that's 3, but I think these are all good matchups in the first round. Even that Thunder versus Pelicans game or series. But I'm going to go with the Nuggets in 6 there. Okay, we make our way over to the Eastern Conference, where we got the Boston Celtics, the best team in the NBA record-wise, finishing 64-14. Jason Tatum, obviously, Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, obviously a really, really good defensive team as well for the Celtics. It's just been a great year for them, but they have to go through the 8-seeded Miami Heat to make their way through the play-in tournament. Man, I'm excited for this series. It should be a good one. The Heat beat the Celtics in the conference finals last year. That crazy 3-0 lead. Boston comes back to tie it 3-3. Heat do win it in a 7-game series. But give me the Boston Celtics here. I'm going to go with Boston. I think they're the better team overall. Playoff Jimmy, you can't count him out. That's why I do have this one going to 6. It's just, again, another 6-game series here. But, I mean, Boston, they're 64-18 this season for a reason. Jason Tatum's played great ball, been a great defensive team. It'll be too much, I think, for the Miami Heat to handle, who just are not. I think their regular season woes will catch up to them this time in the postseason. Okay, Cavaliers taking on the Magic, 4 versus a 5 seed. Cavs finished 48-34 with Donovan Mitchell and that team. Garland, Allen, Mobley, Okoro, LeVert, those kind of players, all really solid players there for the Cavs, and I think they're getting slept on, honestly. And then you got the 47-35 Magic, who take their step this year. Very happy for this team. And Paolo Banchero, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner kind of coming out of nowhere this year. Cole Anthony, a really good team. Jonathan Isaac as well down there. Magic have been a great team this year, but I'm not going to pick them to beat Donovan Mitchell and the Cavaliers. Gonna give this one to the Cavs. No disrespect to the Magic. I think they could be on the rise in the future. Kind of similar to a Kings team last year. I don't think they're quite as good as that team was. But yeah, I got the Magic here. I got the Cavaliers here. I'm gonna go with this one in 5. We're gonna have our first pretty easy series win for a team. The Cavs win it in 5. So yeah, give me Cleveland. All right. Next up, 3-seeded Bucks taking on 6-seeded Pacers, and it does give the question: The Bucks, man. Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, can they figure things out this year? Ended this last year very disappointingly, losing to the Heat in the first round. But we all know what this Bucks team is made out of. It's Giannis, it's Dame, it's those two that are the show. Chris Middleton's kind of took a step back this year, but you do have Bobby Portis, some really solid bench players. So I mean, it's the Bucks, man. They won a championship a couple years ago. You can't count them out. And then you got the Pacers, though. It's very similar to a team like the Magic, taking the rise this year with Haliburton, Miles Turner. Siakam, though, Siakam, believe he is injured here. I do think he should be back for this one, but I'm not entirely sure. Let me search that up. That's obviously a big part of this series is if Pascal Siakam can play. So let's see. So yeah, he should be back, I believe, right? I'm not seeing anything that says he's injured, so maybe I was just looking at the wrong thing there. But anyway, we got the Bucks Pacers here. Pacers, great year, but similar to the Magic, I think their run will come to an end. I do like them to take the Bucks to 6 here. I believe that's our 4th 6-game series. But I do like that. I think that's a good prediction. So give me the Bucks to win it. All right, Knicks taking on the Sixers and the 2-seeded New York Knicks. Great year for them. Jalen Brunson heading into this postseason, playing well. Julius Randle, though, he had a shoulder injury. He will not be playing for this series, which is a big piece. You obviously also got R.J. Barrett and those guys for the New York Knicks, which are all obviously big pieces. But without Julius Randle, who do you have guarding Joel Embiid if you are the New York Knicks? You got your center, Hartenstein, I've never heard of. That's their other big man. They really don't have a lot of big men on this team, so that's got to be a concern if you are the New York Knicks. And that's why I have the first big upset in this first round, and the only one I really got here besides maybe the Mavericks. I got the Sixers winning this one, and I'm actually going to have this one finish in 5. Jalen Brunson is good enough that I think the Knicks, that's a little bit too, I'll give them 6 since I haven't been with a lot of these other series. I'll give the Knicks 6 games because of how good Jalen Brunson's been this year and how good overall this Knicks team is. They got a lot of depth, but like I said, man, I just don't trust this Knicks team to stop the dominance of Joel Embiid. I'm going to go with the Sixers here to advance to the next round. All right, first round done. Let's get to the second round. Thunder taking on the Mavericks. Luka Doncic, great player, taking on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the OKC Thunder here. This is a good one. The Thunder have had a great year, but I'm going with the 5-seeded Mavericks to upset OKC. I just don't think this is the Thunder's year. I think they took great steps this season, but remember, this team's still very young. They haven't had playoff experience in a very long time, so you got to think that that's going to show up in the year as talented as they have been this year. Luka Doncic, obviously we know what this player is capable of. He's a great player for the Dallas Mavericks. You got Kyrie Irving. It's not the best roster around them, but I think that those two will be enough to get it done. So give me the Dallas Mavericks here, and I think this series does go to 6, another 6-game series, but I'm just not going to predict that a lot of these series are going to be not that close, if that makes sense. But yeah, give me the Mavericks to beat the Thunder. T-Wolves now taking on the Denver Nuggets, defending champions, taking on Denver here. Taking on Minnesota. I'm excited if we see this one now. Obviously, I could see a whole different outcome with the Suns and potentially the Lakers, but we're not going to go into that neither here nor there. These two, a 3 versus a 2, I'm actually going to go with the Wolves in a 7-game series. Another upset, rolling out these upsets in the Western Conference here. Give me the Timberwolves. No discredit to the Nuggets, but it's so very hard to win back-to-back. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. This Timberwolves team is very good with Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns. I really like this Wolves team, man. I think that they've had some rough years overall in the past, but they have been a good team. They have playoff experience. Haven't made it this far, but I do think that will carry over. So I'm going to go with the Nuggets here, the Wolves, to upset Denver and the defending champions. All right, Celtics, Cavs, 1 versus a 4. Give me the Boston Celtics. I mean, I love Cleveland. I love Donovan Mitchell here for the Cavs, but he's just not enough, man, to take over a Boston Celtics team who's been just so dominant this year. I mean, let's just be real. I don't see it happening. I really like Cleveland, but I do got the Boston Celtics moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm going to go with this one in a I'm going to go with a 5-game series. Like I said, I just think the Cavaliers are mismatched in this series. All right, Bucks taking on the Sixers now. 3 versus a 7. Interesting series. I'm going to give this... Yeah, this is a good one. Giannis versus Joel Embiid. I'll be real here. Sixers, they've been so good when Joel Embiid is playing for this team. But in the playoffs, I still just don't trust Joel Embiid. I think he does have enough to get past the first round against the Knicks, but I don't think he'll do it. I think this is a 7-game series. No, I'm going to go with 6. Yeah, like I said, I just don't trust Joel Embiid and the Sixers in the playoffs more than I do Giannis and Dame now on this team. I think that the Bucks have too much firepower to lose that one. Yeah, I think the difference really is going to be Damian Lillard versus Maxey, and I think that Lillard will win that battle. So give me the Bucks to move on to the conference finals. So our conference finals consists of 5-seeded Mavericks and 3-seeded Wolves in the West here. Fun conference finals here. We got Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards taking on Luka and Kyrie. I'm going to go with the T-Wolves to move on to the NBA Finals. Yes, not going to disrespect the Timberwolves like I've seen a lot of people doing. I think Mavericks' run will come to an end. Like I said, just the overall surrounding talent with the Mavericks is just not great. I think it's much better with the Timberwolves, which I think will show up in this series. I think I'm going to go with the Wolves in 6 games here. Another 6-game series here. Mark that down as like probably 8 to 6-game series already. But yeah, I like the Timberwolves, man, to move on to the NBA Finals, where they will meet the number 1 seed Celtics or the 3-seeded Bucks. Damian Lillard and the Bucks trying to take down the Celtics, but you gotta consider coaching in some of these games. I just don't think Doc Rivers has enough to take this Bucks team, who's been a very bad defensive team all year. Keep that in mind with these games. Bucks have just not done it defensively this season. I think that will show up against the Celtics, who are one of the best defensive teams in the entire league. That's the difference maker in this series. Jason Tatum will play ball. Jaylen Brown will play ball. Boston Celtics will finally get to that NBA Finals here and take down the Milwaukee Bucks, I think, in another 6-game series. So our NBA Finals, we have the best record team in the NBA with the Boston Celtics taking on Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, young team trying to win it all here. Boston, been a great team this year, obviously, with Jason Tatum. And I think this is their year as the 64-18 team. We saw it last year with the best record in the NBA, winning with the the Denver Nuggets. I think that's a very similar result this year. Boston Celtics kind of run their way through the tournament. I'm going to go with Boston. I think this series, another 6-game series, I believe here. I just don't think the Wolves are good enough to force a Game 7, but they are good enough to win a couple games in their biggest games. So what is that now for the Boston Celtics? An NBA championship? I'm not entirely sure. Comment down in the comments what you think. But yeah, guys, that is my bracket. Thank you all for watching this video today, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.